recognize what movie this is from, or know who the characters are, or anything? Colin.
That's The Great Gatsby.
How'd you know?
One, I remember that scene, Leonardo DiCaprio like holding up the glass. And
Yeah.
it's just like very like elaborate, and it says Gatsby like right there.
That's right. Okay. So with that, we are going to be talking about The Great Gatsby today, and we're going to be doing a little bit of work on the 1920s and that period of history. So, if anybody can please read the first learning objective for me, that'd be super awesome. Somebody on the side of the room? Katie?
Students will be able to annotate historical fiction.
Thank you. And then anybody on the side of the room can read the second learning objective, please? Sabrina!
Students will be able to analyze the connection between historical causation and historical fiction.
Yes, right on. Thank you very, very much, guys. Okay, so now let's direct our attention to the little piece that we have in front of us. So everybody should have gotten a handout, and it has selections from The Great Gatsby. And on the first side, it has the different characters, a little summary of what The Great Gatsby is about, and 4 historical themes. So these 4 historical themes are what we're going to be trying to find when we're reading excerpts from The Great Gatsby. We're going to be annotating it together, so don't worry. But Rhea, go ahead, flip it on over, and we're going to start our presentation. Alright, so let's just start reading. Here we go. Great Gatsby. But he knew that he was in Daisy's house by a colossal accident. However glorious might be his future as J. Gatsby, he was at present a penniless young man. That? Do I have to focus it?
It should
But he was at present a penniless young man without a past, and at any moment the invisible cloak of his uniform might slip from his shoulders. So in the very first sentence it uses he. Do we know who that he is? Yes, Sabrina?
Is it Gatsby?
It's Gatsby. So that he is definitely going to be Gatsby. We can go write that in if you'd like. And there's one super important part of the sentence. It says that he was at present a penniless young man without a past, and at any moment the invisible cloak of his uniform might slip from his shoulders. Does anybody have an inkling about what kind of uniform he might be wearing? Yeah, James.
Military.
A military uniform. So in the 1920s, there was a war that happened right before. Does anybody know what war that was? Yeah, Katie.
Was it World War I?
It was World War I. So, what they're saying about the uniform in this situation is they're saying that Gatsby, he was poor, he didn't have any money, he was broke, but he had a uniform. And it said the moment of the invisible cloak of his uniform. That uniform was providing him with a facade. It was something that could cover up differences in social hierarchy and social economic status, and those are some of the impacts that World War I had in the 1920s. So from that, people without a lot of financial wealth were able to, in some ways, like create a facade of their finances and of their wealth. So with that, we're going to keep moving on. It says, so he made the most of his time. He took what he could get, ravenously and unscrupulously. Does anyone know what unscrupulously means? This is a funky word. Yeah, Sabrina, you want to take a shot?
From context, it sounds like without regard of like where it's coming from.
Mm-hmm. It is definitely about where it's coming from. So the actual definition is that it's without moral principles, not honest or fair. So he's taking what he can get without moral principles. What do you think he's trying to take? Does anyone have an idea of what something that you might be wanting to take without morals or principles? Especially if you're broke, you're penniless, yeah, Colin?
Money.
Money, definitely. So, like he has this facade of his World War II or World War I uniform that he has on, he's also trying to take wealth in ways that aren't technically legal. So, this is not going to be explicitly stated in The Great Gatsby, but one of the ways that people in the 1920s made a lot of their wealth was through immoral means. A lot of it was through the Prohibition. Based on background knowledge, does anybody know what the Prohibition might be? Yeah, James.
That's when they banned alcohol.
They banned alcohol. So then in turn, people are still going to drink, of course. You know when someone's like, oh, don't do that, what are you going to do? You're going to do it, exactly. We all do it. I've done it. So when people are saying, oh, you're not supposed to drink, you're not allowed to do that, of course people are going to do it. They're just going to find a different means to do it. So, we're gonna keep going on, and then right after it says, he took her because he had no real right to touch her hand. Does anybody know who the her is? It's in the line above. Yeah, Katie?
Daisy.
It's Daisy. Does anybody know anything about Daisy? If you want to flip over to the front page, it does say who Daisy is. Can anybody read who Daisy is? What's her description? Yeah, Sam.
Daisy Buchanan is Nick's beautiful socialite cousin.
Thank you. And is socialite a higher position of socioeconomic status or lower? It's higher, exactly. So she's wealthy. That's the difference between Daisy and Gatsby, the difference in money that they have. So he had no real right to touch her hand. This is just showing the discrepancy between the rich and the poor in this time period. So why was he not supposed to be with her? Like, what social hierarchy or stratus was in it that was blocking Jay Gatsby from being with her? Does anybody have an idea? Do we think it's wealth? Yeah, I think it's wealth. Okay, awesome. So moving on, can I have somebody read the second paragraph, please? Yeah, Will.
He might have despised himself, for he had certainly taken her under false pretenses. I don't mean he had traded his phantom millions, but he had deliberately given Daisy a sense of security. He let her believe that he was a person from much of the same stratum as herself, that he was fully able to take care of her. As much of fact as he had no such facilities, he had no comfortable family standing behind him, and he was liable at the whim of an impersonal government to be blown anywhere about the world.
Exactly. So we're also seeing with this part where it says he was liable at the whim of an impersonal government to be blown anywhere about the world. How is he connected with the government? What is his occupation that he's connected with the government? Yeah, Katie?
Well, we mentioned he has a World War II uniform, so I'm assuming he's some sort of soldier, and soldiers are often deployed anywhere they want.
Exactly, he's a soldier. And Daisy, and anybody that Daisy might be related to, her family, they don't necessarily have to be in the war because they have the wealth that can keep them out of the draft, that can keep them from having to sacrifice their lives for the freedom and equality that we have here. But Gatsby does not have that. So that's another major discrepancy between the rich and the poor here. Do you guys see the themes that are being pulled out? A theme of a wealth gap, a theme of how World War I is seriously impacting the 1920s. Alright, we're gonna do a little bit more. Let's actually jump down to, we can jump down to the fourth paragraph right here, paragraph 4, and I'll read it. It says, when they met again 2 days later, it was Gatsby who was breathless, who somehow betrayed. Her porch, and this her is Daisy, her porch was bright with the bought luxury of starshine, the wicker of the sea squeaked fashionably as she turned toward him, and he kissed her curious and lovely mouth. She had caught a cold, and it made her voice huskier and more charming than ever, and Gatsby was overwhelmingly aware of the youth and mystery that wealth imprisons and preserves, of the freshness of many clothes and of Daisy, gleaming like silver, safe and proud above the hot struggles of the poor. What piece of that jumps out to you guys? Is there any like sentence or phrase that catches your eye in that paragraph? Yeah, Sabrina?
The wealth imprisons and preserves.
That one totally also jumped out at me. So I think, like we were discussing before, we do see that major discrepancy between the rich and the poor, but another huge part of 1920s wealth and economy was also the difference between old money and new money. So right now we're seeing Jay Gatsby, he might have gotten some wealth through immoral means, like we saw the unscrupulous means, but Daisy clearly already has this wealth. She has the wealth, she has a social, hierarchy and status, and it's imprisoning her and preserving her. It's something that she can't get out of. It's something that's inherited. Old money is inherited, while new money is normally found in a much quicker way and often through immoral means like Gatsby has. So a little bit further, we're going to do a tiny bit more. We're actually going to jump all the way down to the bottom paragraph. So, can somebody read the bottom paragraph for me, please? Sabrina, thank you.
For Daisy was young, and her artificial world was redolent of orchids and pleasant, cheerful snobbery, and orchestras which set the rhythm of the year, summing up the sadness and suggestiveness of life in new tunes. All night the saxophones wailed the hopeless comment of the Beale Street blues, while 100 pairs of golden and silver slippers shuffled the shining dust. At the gray tea hour there were always rooms that throbbed incessantly with this low, sweet fever, while fresh faces drifted here and there like rose petals blown by the sad horns around the floor.
Yes, thank you so much. Okay, so now in your groups, I just want you to flip your paper over, and I want you to look at the 4 historical themes are going to be on the bottom half of your paper. Based on the paragraph that Sabrina just read, talk about in your tables which theme it most closely identifies with, and then try to find one little phrase, one piece of textual evidence that was kind of follows most closely along with it. Which theme? There should be 4 of them. Alright, does anybody have an inkling of which theme it might resemble, which one it might identify with? Yeah, Katie.
We kind of talked about theme 1. It talks about Daisy's artificial world, how she has cheerful snobbery and like hundreds of pairs of gold and silver slippers. So really just flaunting the wealth that they have.
Yes, flaunting is a fantastic word to use there. I think that was really, really good. So I think this paragraph just kind of exemplifies a consumer culture in the age of decadence. You don't need 100 pairs of gold and silver slippers, and of course she's going to have it, because that was how you identified your social hierarchy, how you showed that you were somebody of a higher class in that time period. So, with that, we're going to be done for this reading, but I do want you guys to flip it over and direct your attention to the 4 historical themes that we have. So, around the room, you're going to see 4 different sections. So, there's going to be a few pictures, like, grouped in each one. It's going to be this first book cabinet over there, second book cabinet, the third, and the fourth. So that each set of pictures is going to identify closely with one of the themes, okay? There technically could be more than one right answer for this if you want to argue it a different way, but in groups or independently, however you like, you guys are going to have about 3 minutes to go around and look at which ones resemble which historical theme. So you guys can go on up. I'll give you a 30-minute warning, and yeah, not 30 minutes, 30 seconds. Yeah. You don't have to write it down. You can just keep on writing it if you want to write it down. Alright, can everyone please head back to their seats? Who had a look at these first cabinets? The cabinets with the party and the streamers, the people dancing on the ship, the people drinking in the speakeasy. Who was looking at those pictures? Does anybody look? I know I definitely saw some people from that table looking at that one. Did anybody look at these and might know which theme it aligned with? Should I? You're nodding.
We said consumer culture and the age of decadence.
Yes, I love that. So we're seeing consumer culture, clearly decadence because they're actually drinking, and they have all this super just outrageous design, which is super extravagant, and they have all these streamers and these people and these marvelous parties. And then let's look at the other one over here. If we direct our attention to this one, which theme did you guys think that these pictures most line with? Yeah, Will?
That would sort of be a wide gap between which and four.
What tipped you off?
Well, that one is literally a butch guy in like a fancy suit and like a sort of more sort of dirty man.
Exactly. Yeah, so there's definitely a class note. I love that you guys were able to analyze that. So with that is going to be the conclusion of my lesson. I'm sure that you guys had great answers for the other two. In the interest of time, we're not going to get to them. But thank you guys so much for listening. I really appreciate
Can I use the first slides? Do you know how to turn the, do I have to turn the thing off?
The green light
Yes.
is just
Oh, it is still going.